Today, I'm doing a exploration of KasparovChess, and I want to start by thanking KasparovChess for sponsoring the stream and eventual YouTube video. I'm usually super hesitant when it comes to doing sponsored content on stream, but this is a site, and like the content within the site, I don't think so many people are aware of. And I have full access to show whatever I want. They have all these like training programs and a lot of like training videos combined with puzzles. So we have the Kasparov chess command with more information on the offer that's going on. It's coupon code Rosen to save 50% off, get a 7-day free trial. And if you do a paid annual membership, you get a free signed copy of Kasparov's How Life Imitates Chess. XI Sparks asking, who is the book signed by? It's signed by Kasparov himself. Not signed by me, unfortunately. I think that would be a little bit less valuable. Okay, let's dive in. Let's start with an overview. There's a lot of different things to explore. There's a whole Kasparov masterclass, which is 57 episodes. There's programs which are structured based on your level. And then there's a whole lessons library too, which I think I'll spend most of the time going into. But let's do some warm up. I could probably use some puzzles after after that viewer tournament, missing a lot of tactics. And yeah, the way that the site kind of operates is there's all these different levels, starting with beginner, going all the way up to master. This is how the lesson video content is structured as well. And beginner is supposed to be sub 1,000, and then there's 200-point increments. So casual is like around 1,200, 1,400, 16, 18, etc. Man, we could do a lot of different types of puzzles. Let's do random. Maybe we'll do one of each. I'll let Twitch chat also maybe chime in here. Black to move. This is the easiest tactic in chess. White just played rook e1 attacking the queen. And yeah, the rating ranges are meant to like stretch your ability. So like a 1,200 rated puzzle is intended to take a 1,200 player some work to solve. Yeah, queen takes e1. Simplest tactic in chess is taking a free piece. Okay, so we accomplished beginner. Let's do casual. Here's the sound effects. Okay, black to move. This is combining the easiest tactic in chess with a different tactic. A lot of people saying fork. Okay, so there's knight f3. But if we play knight f3, there's bishop takes f3. So let's not get any problems wrong just to begin with. Yeah, queen takes bishop, checking the king, and then we deliver, in this case, a triple fork. GG. Yeah, so I guess if we want to keep upping the level, we'll go back, do club level. Okay, at least most of chat seems pretty sharp. Bishop to a3. Wait. Oh, it's our move. Okay, so we're probably taking the bishop. But then pawn b4. If this were a game, it's the type of position you just take the bishop right away. Like, there's no reason to calculate. If we don't take the bishop, white's losing. So let's take the bishop. And now this is very important. Where does the knight go? So the most important thing is to stop the passed pawns. If knight c4, then a3. And I don't think we're stopping the a pawn. If we play knight c2, then I think we're blockading everything. Yeah, knight c2, b3, knight a3, everything's blockaded. White's up a piece. Nice. Oh, it keeps going. Okay, the bishop wants to capture on in d3, so we play bishop e2. And now everything's good. Gaining some puzzle rating. Okay, that was club. So far, so good with a speed run. White to move. Black's last move was king c8. As we're going to see, they're going to get much more difficult. Like already, there's not anything obvious hanging. White does want to exploit some of the targets in black's position. I mean, queen g7. Queen g7 hits the rook, but the rook can move. I'm wondering if can white just take on d5? Knight takes d5, queen takes d5, and then rook b6. It doesn't seem so convincing, though. Queen e5. Yeah, queen e5 actually looks much nicer. It's a type of position there's a lot of different ideas. But queen e5 hitting the rook and hitting e6 pawn. I'm going to try queen e5. I think this is most convincing. Although then there's knight g6, rook takes g6. Removing the defender of the rook. And now we take. There we go. Okay, so upping the level. Oh, that was league. Okay, so this was sub 1,000, 1,000 to 1,200, 1,200, 1,400. Oh, that was 1,400 to 1,600. Now tournament, I believe, is 1,600 to 1,800. And again, we're doing random puzzles, so we're getting all different types of themes. First question is, which way are the pawns going? We're playing black, promoting this way. This looks like some kind of study position. The bishop wants to... I mean, bishop's preventing pawn b2. Yeah, knight c4 looks like the easy choice. Just preparing pawn b2. Knight c4, there's f4. Wait a minute. Knight c4, f4, b2, takes, and then f5. We don't want to trade pawns, so g5, f6. Ah, this is a nice one. And then we probably play knight c4 there. f7, knight e5. Yeah, unfortunately, I can't. Oh, can I draw arrows? Oh, I can draw arrows. Okay. I didn't know I could draw arrows. Okay, so we want to play b2. To prepare it, we play knight c4. White's going to try and trade off the f pawn. And then b2, takes, f5. And then g5. And then after f6, it looks logical to play king g6, but then f7, and black has to take the pawn and lose the g5 pawn. So it's really important to see the knight can come back to c4. And then after f7, knight e5 attacks the knight and the pawn, or the king and the pawn. So let's do it. g5. Yeah, I guess after f6, there's also knight e6. Or knight d3, preparing the other way to get to e5. We're moving up. We got 3 more levels. So advanced is 1,800 to 2,000. Here we go. Oh, it's messy. Gotta stay focused here. All the rooks are hanging. Except for this rook. When it comes to tackling a position like this, first we want to count material. The material is actually equal here. And then it's a matter of considering the candidate moves. I mean, we can move the rook anywhere safe and then still have both rooks attacked. So one question is, what is the difference between a move like this and a move like this? I mean, it seems most tempting to play rook d3. Aligning with the bishop and knight. Actually, rook d3 looks like the most convincing, because then in some cases we just win a full rook. If rook e8, white's actually getting compensation. With bishop f4, yeah, we win one of the rooks, but white holds on to the c-pawn. Yeah, I'm waiting for chat to come up with some logic, but I think I've explained it, at least to the best of my ability. Like rook d3, because when we take one of the rooks, we're attacking the bishop that's undefended. So one line is bishop c2 or c4, but then we take a rook and we're up a piece. And if the bishop takes on d3, we get the pawn to d3. Let's do it. Rook d3. Oh, now which rook do we take? Could take on e1 or a1. Intuitively, should probably take in the center. Just because when our bishop's on e1, we're going to have a pawn d2 in the end as some idea. And we also don't want to leave the rook on the open e-file. Let's do it. And then take. Okay. A nice one. We'll do two more. And then I want to get to the video library. So expert is 2,000 to 2,200. A master is 2,200 plus. Okay, I think this one is easier than I would have expected. But actually, maybe there's a couple options for black. Yeah, a couple people spotting the free knight. But then our knight's also hanging. Oh, but then the queen is hanging. Wait a minute. It's a choice between rook takes d4 or queen takes g3. And rook d4 and bishop c5 looks pretty nice for black. But the way these puzzles work, there's only one correct solution. So this is a case where we have to compare the options and then try and see white's resources. Yeah, I'm drawn to rook d4 more because it hits the queen and then prepares this, the knight's still hanging. And the only way for the queen to defend the knight is to move here or here and then still bishop c5 with nasty discoveries. But there's also some reason, like queen g3, we do keep the pin alive and we're still threatening this. Oh, I forgot to count the material. That's a really good point. Black's down a piece here. So it's not just about winning back a piece. It's about winning more material. Yeah, so I guess if queen takes f or queen takes g3, there's queen f2. And I think that just defends everything for white. But rook d4, queen f2, bishop c5. It's gotta be. What would Garry do? Hopefully Garry would play this move. About to play it. Ooh. Okay, so now the question is, why is rook d4 not working? And it's kind of a lack of a feature, but it's also a feature of the site. There's no stockfish. So it forces us to think to think on our own. Yeah, we could try again. We could also ask for a hint. But why is rook d4? Ah, queen f2 and queen takes f6 is some idea. And then we're not left with any discoveries. Actually, queen f2, bishop c5, queen f6. If queen g3, we get mated. Let's see. Queen takes g3. But queen takes g3, queen f2. Should we ask for a hint? I actually don't know what this button does. Let's see. We move the knight. Wow. No one considered any knight move. This is the Ask Garry button, yeah. Knight g4? It's a plot twist. Here we see the difficulty. Like this is a very high level exercise. And it's probably about just fully maximizing the activity. Knight g4 is crazy actually though. Cuz we're hitting the pawn. We're also taking away these squares. The knight's still hit and there's still threats of this. On top of all of that, the knight is pinned to the h2 square. Because we have the bishop controlling f1. So there's cases where, like, if white allows queen h2, we're just, like, absolutely mating. So it's not just about winning material. It's not even about winning material. It's about just not taking material and realizing the fact that we can just overpower the opponent. Okay, pawn e5. And now rook d4? Probably rook d4. We don't want to take on h6 because then we don't have bishop c5 as a move. Rook d4 almost traps a queen too. Like the queen has to move here or here. Or there, and then we win the queen. Okay. So this goes to show the level of difficulty. Like and that was expert level. Now I will share. I tried master level puzzles a couple days ago, and the few that I tried, it was like 2 or 3 puzzles. I did not get a single one correct. So here we go. This is really intended for like serious title players. Good luck to chat. Yeah. All right, so let's apply some sort of structured thought process to this position. Counting material, it is equal. Immediate attacks or threats, of course, the bishop on e7 attacked twice, defended 3 times. There's also the potential rook takes g8. So we probably want to consider like all the captures. I'm going to take a moment before looking at chat, just to think on my own without too much influence. We take on g8, take on e7. It's one big trade. Oh, f7 is also a target though. Okay, I'll look at chat. Any ideas? Rook takes g8. Okay, I'm looking at Irene's suggestion first. Knight takes e7, queen takes f7. That looks really obvious, actually. Wait, f7 is just hanging. I think I'll try this. So I just don't see a defense for black. If it's wrong, we'll try and figure out why. Queen f7. Okay, it keeps going. Black's threatening some really annoying perpetual. I'm thinking h3 here. h3 seems like such a chill, like simple move. And then black's completely stuck. There's also king g2. Is there a difference between h3 and king g2? King g2 just avoids checks entirely. But king g2 allows this move. And then queen e4 with check. There's also, I see bishop takes e7, but again, queen d1 check. And the problem, especially if we move our bishop to e7, there's no getting out of checks. So let's go for h3. I think h3, we have to use some intuition too here. Hey, okay, h3 is solved. H3 is not a type of move you see in puzzles too often. It's funny, like h3 came to me quicker than the initial like knight e7, queen f7. Also, this move is very near and dear to my heart. Like, I played this move in the final round of the National High School Championship in 2011. It's a move that won me the title. Anyway, I'm gonna switch gears here. So that was a puzzle trainer, but I think the biggest draw to the site is just the video content in general. Now they do have a play zone. There's a few other like features. It's not active. I probably wouldn't recommend playing in the play zone because it's going to be hard to find opponents. And even though this is a sponsored stream, I can still point out some of the deficiencies in the site. But I do want to focus on the video content. And yeah, I won't be playing people on the site. So maybe we can do the daily lesson. We got Maurice. They have about a dozen different like strong players doing video lessons from them, including Garry and Maurice and MVL. Okay, so it's daily lesson time. The G3, I assume this is G3, G6 sacrifice.
Here we can see Black has offered a trade of bishops in order to control the dark squares. White decided, well, why not just take a rook on f8? And was punished brutally by the move bishop to e3 check. Okay, now, first of all, you cannot play king to f1 because queen comes to h4, and the threat of queen to f2 mate is unstoppable. Well, you can only play g3, but that allows queen to h3 mate, or even bishop to h3 with checkmate. So the king had to go into the corner with king to h1, and now the crispy knight to g3 with check. That has to be accepted. And now queen takes on f8, and here comes the queen to the h6 square to deliver the deadly blow.
It's so crispy.
A knight draw back to f1, but after queen h6 check, knight to h2, king to g7, the game is now over as a rook is headed to h8, and the queen will take on h2, and nothing at all can stop that maneuver. In this next position, Black should have been very careful. b4 would have been a nice move, looking to trade off queens. Instead, Black played the unbelievably greedy queen to f2, trying to take the pawn on g3. Well, White punished this move instantly with the move f5, clearing the line for the queen to come in and hunt down the Black king.
Okay, generally, there's no need to pause these videos, but f5, it's a type of move you should play and then see the resulting combination.
Of course, really you could take with the g-pawn if you like, but that's going to just open up the king to this brilliant sacrifice bishop takes on e6, and that's going to be all she wrote. The queen could take on e6 and then f5, continuing the attack, or even play knight to g5 in this position where trading off pieces does not help and trying to block, because the queen will just ravage your pieces on the queen side. Instead, Black played e takes on f5, and White crashed through with queen to h6 check, king to g8, and now queen takes on g6 with check. This pawn is pinned to the king, and if the king runs, then queen takes f7 is mate. But after h takes, rook takes h8, king to g7, rook down to h7 is checkmate. If you're going to be greedy in chess, make sure you don't get killed.
Okay, that's good life advice. Now we have the exercises. I already did this at some point. But we can do it. I'll let chat do it. Let's see if chat can learn from the few examples and solve these puzzles. Yeah, it kind of sounded like a boxing match there, or a fast food outing. And yeah, it does help when knowing the theme. Like when doing the random puzzles earlier, then it's kind of just you have to take all the patterns you've studied into consideration. But here we know the theme is taking or sacking on g6. So, and the calculation is pretty straightforward here. Take on f6, take on g6, and then actually sack again. And black's going to be left with a naked king. Ooh. Bishop g7 or rook f6? Rook f6. The bishop g7, there's bishop takes g7, and white's not mating. But this wins back material. Yeah, that was almost sack, sack, mate. That was sack, sack, and then beat up material. Next exercise. Okay, so we know the focal point. This is g3 pawn. But how to actually make the ideas work in this position? I see O King Garry saying bishop to c5. Yeah, bishop c5 looks really nice. We start by pinning the knight. And if bishop to e3, that blocks the queen from defending g3. Then knight takes g3. And I think white's whole position is about to crumble. Bishop c5, bishop e3, knight takes g3. Takes. If king f1, there's rook takes f2 with eventual mate. Not to mention, if the king goes this way, there's potential for the rook to swing over. Let's start with bishop c5. Rook f2 is also a consideration, but after king f2, I mean, we lose one of our most valuable pieces. And we're better off pinning the knight rather than capturing right away. And then takes. Ooh. Okay, there's a lot of discoveries here. Yeah, knight e4. Winning back some material. In this case, I guess just winning the knight. We can also win the bishop. Oh, we could take with rook on f2 as well. Wait a minute. There's choices. Rook takes f2 looks like the most appetizing, the most crispy. Because if bishop takes f2, then we fork mate. And now this bishop's hanging. Okay. That was exercise 2. So, yeah, some of these are actually pretty complex puzzles. But it does help to know the theme. And again, we know the theme. Irene suggesting h4, h5. I think this one, if I didn't know the theme, I would not find the right move. Like maybe even in a tournament game. But knowing the theme, it should make it a bit easier to find. And yeah, white can be really direct here. Bishop takes g6 right away. And this is very forcing. Black has to take back. If takes this way, it's there's queen e6. And then king f8. You'd imagine white's having all the fun there. At the very least, there's queen e7, king e7, bishop c7. And white has 1-2 pawns in that line. And then if pawn takes, then queen h3 threatening mate. F pawn moves, queen takes e6, and it's going to be the same line. If f5, we play queen h8, king f7, and the queen is cleaning up. Okay, one more puzzle. Or no, 2 more puzzles. Oh, okay, this is a crispy one. This is what, almost exactly what Maurice showed earlier. Same idea, different position. Knight g3. Some people might like be inclined to set it up, but knight g3 is way more forcing. And it's so important to understand that after pawn takes, there's no defense to king g7, rook h8. Like, even though white has a move. Okay, maybe trying to trade off the bishop. This is so powerful to control these two squares. And GG. Okay, final exercise. Oh, this is different. This time there's no opponent pawn. This case on g3. Okay, a lot of crazy moves being suggested. Rook h3, queen h3. There's also knight e2. Yeah, knight e2 is actually really forcing. Like, some of these other moves, like knight f3, it's not entirely clear if black's achieving much. Even if we win g4 with check, f2 is defendable in these lines. And I saw some suggestions for rook h3 as well. I think in that line there's rook a3. No, rook a3, knight e2. Wait, okay, rook h3. Takes. White can take on d4 there and kill all of black's fun. So we gotta make use of our knight before white can take it. There is some suggestion for knight e2, king f1, knight g3. Which actually looks pretty promising. Because after pawn takes, queen h1, skewering the king to the rook. If king moves up, we take the rook. If king moves to e2, we take on g2. And then the rook is coming in for the kill. So I hope that makes sense. I don't think rook h3 works. Because takes, and takes. Let's do knight e2. And this aligns with the theme. We're sacking on g3. And the recurring theme is basically destruction of the pawn shelter. Like, even though this is slightly different than the other ones, we're taking away the shelter from the king. And then, okay, take. Up the exchange here. GG. That was a more difficult one. There were some lines that also looked attractive. I had to eliminate. But that's the point. Like, so the later exercises are far more difficult. And they are intended to stretch one's ability. Okay, I want to move on. I want to show probably the main, like, the most powerful part of the site. The programs are structured video series based on what your level is. So I don't think I want to spend the time actually watching through like full series, but for any beginners out there, if you want like a structured program, these are super well organized, very highly produced, and they share a lot of like key fundamentals, what you need to like be a decent chess player. To access this, there are paid memberships, but with the current offer, you can use coupon code Rosen for a 7-day free trial and get access to all the video content on the site. And I'm open to also just going through and sharing what chat wants. But it's a very similar model to Netflix. Is yeah, you get a membership and then you have access to watch hundreds of hours of video content. The other really cool thing is we can sort based on what we're looking for. So someone was asking about strategy, like if we can walk through a strategy video. And we can select the level. I think it's fine to like keep all levels, just see what's available. And then we can also filter through the teacher. So I don't have any any content on this site, because I'm primarily focused on my own content. But there's a lot of notable coaches and GMs and chess content creators here entering a tactical league of your own. Yeah, so it's basically like a mini course on a certain theme. Starting with Garry.
What are tactics?
It's Garry.
If not the soul of chess, the heart. The technical definition sounds boring. A forcing sequence of moves to achieve a concrete result. But tactics are much more. They are the action and reaction of chess, the punch and counterpunch, the beauty and the brains. For me, tactics are the lifeblood of the game. It's always action and there's always surprise. And it's very natural for any beginner because it's easy to understand and appreciate. For centuries, chess fans have been mesmerized by the beautiful combinations and tactical shots.
And he talks with so much passion.
Have been called immortal, evergreen, because they were full of tactics. And tactics are always accompanied by sacrifice. And we're always enchanted to see the triumph of spirit over material.
Okay, let's get to the tactics.
Feels boring.
So that's the taste of like the production value. Daily diet. We could hop around. Is this Tania? This might be Tania.
Our first example is between two very strong
I should see if Tania has any opening content on this site. Get a sense of her opening preparation.
grandmasters. Playing with the white pieces is check number.
I'm going to turn off subtitles.
1. Grandmaster David Navarra, and with the black pieces, 16-year-old Indian super talent Grandmaster Nihal Serene. This was played in the Banter Blitz Cup, and here David made the move g4. Now at first sight it looks like something has gone very wrong for black, as this move forks the queen and the knight. A double attack, but this weakens a critical f4 square. Did Nihal miss this, or is there a way that black can make use of this weakness on f4? Turns out Nihal is a very tricky kid, and he had a counter blow of his own, starting with rook e2, removing a key defender, and white has to recapture on e2, and now black jumps in with the knight to f4, forking the king and the queen. King f2,
so
Nihal picked up the queen. David also has to capture the queen, but now the unfortunate position of the rook after knight c1, Nihal ends up with an extra piece. David Navarra resigned.
GG.
Our next example.
Okay. Again, I'm trying to give a taste of some of the video content. I'm actually really curious about the opening content. Because I get the questions so often of like openings, what openings I recommend for various levels. Okay, we're moving on to openings. Oh wow, they have a whole openings for newbies. Wait, Tania? Oh, no opening content from Tania. Aronian? MVL. Okay, got some content from MVL and Garry. Oh, and Elizabeth Petz, who I played in a previous Speed Chess Championship. Okay, let's watch a Garry video. Let's hear Garry talk about openings.
D4 with the move f5. Now the opening has been around for years.
Oh wow, okay. Okay, I didn't realize this. This is like within sidelines, there's Dutch, there's Albin counter gambit, and there's Budapest gambit. What does chat want to watch? We'll have time for one. Budapest winning. I kind of want to watch Budapest too. I want to see a Super Grandmaster's take on the Budapest. Might not watch the whole thing, but I just want to get a sense of what he says.
The Budapest Gambit is an opening. Black can play against the first move 1 d4. After knight f6, c4. The pawn sacrifice with e5 is called the Budapest Gambit. It's been around for years and been played by some of the strong modern players as well, by Shahryar Mamediyarov many times, many other grandmasters, Badur Jabava as well. After d takes e5, which is obviously the only way to capture this pawn, Black should play knight g4. There is also a remarkably well publicized and known variation, knight e4. I believe this probably has some traps to it, but after the move 8...
this is called the Faja Wuritz variation. This is actually something
stopping
I've
any bishop before business. I couldn't find that many traps. White should probably know that queen d5 is not ideal because knight c5, then the queen will get trapped in the corner due to bishop b7.
Ooh. Okay, he's going through this really quickly, but if queen takes 8, knight c6. And it's actually a nice one.
c7, then knight c6. So queen d5, not very good, but simple knight f3 followed by g3 just gives white a pawn advantage. And another way of playing, perhaps after a3, knight c6, knight f3, d6 can be met with a very strong move, queen c2. And this gives white a enormous advantage, I believe. So knight e4, a little bit of a bluff.
Okay, so far he's showing how to refute the Budapest.
Decent variation. And the problem for Black is that even if he takes his pawn back, which he eventually will, white will just enjoy a small plus due to his control of the center. For example, with a move like, even a simple move like e3, knight takes e5, and now, for example, knight h3, intending knight f4. This pawn structure in general gives white a small plus. He has a little bit more space. That to say, Black has a reasonable position. So there are some lines I should mention. There is a aggressive line with e4, knight takes e5, and f4. Black can fight back here, but this an interesting variation that probably gives white a small advantage as well objectively. A few other lines. Main move is bishop f4. After knight f3, Black can play bishop c5, closing this bishop, and after e3, play the move knight c6. And in these variations, there is an interesting idea, interesting motif that both white and black players.
Okay, I'm going to take a guess. He's going to point out rook a6. Wait for it.
No, so let's after bishop e2. White really cannot hang on to this pawn. And now,
it's actually
for
cool
example,
idea
castle, rook e8, knight c3.
Wait, is this 2x speed? He is talking about fast. This is not 2x speed. This is normal speed. But this is how Garry talks. It's actually nice. You could slow it down. We could hear Garry at 0.5 speed.
Knight e5, knight takes c5, knight takes c5. It's quite important to know that sometimes Black postpones the move d6, and the idea is that after, for example,
yeah, if you have trouble
b3,
keeping up,
a5. Let's say natural move bishop b2. Now if Black were to play d6, white would have once again the structure in the center of the c4 pawn that guards the d5 square, gives white a small plus. He will eventually prepare the move f4, but Black has a cunning little idea that's very common for this Budapest Gambit. That's the move rook a6. Nice rook lift.
There we go.
And
okay.
This can
yeah, rook a6 actually leads to a lot of fun ideas. Yeah, he goes through things at a pretty fast pace, so this may be geared towards someone who can follow along. It looks like this is more of like a synopsis. Like these are the key lines from a grandmaster's perspective, and then it's worth digging into them a bit more closely. If you're just tuning in, we have been taking a look at KasparovChess.com, kind of poking around at all the video lessons, various topics, different coaches. We do have a promotion going on. If you use coupon code Rosen, and let me see if I'm logged in right now, but I think the link will work for me. So if you go to, it's KasparovChess.com/upgrade account. And this is where you'll see the breakdown. The promotion currently is you save 50% using coupon code Rosen. You get a 7-day free trial. And if you do yearly and then proceed to like do the paid membership, then you get a free signed copy of Kasparov's or How Life Imitates Chess. There's a question, how much does it cost? So if you do yearly, it's another 30%. Let me make sure. Let's see if I can actually do this. So basically, here's where you put your coupon code. Rosen, and then, yeah, this is $60 off the annual membership. So it's $59.99. And again, it's 7-day free trial. If you don't cancel after 7 days, you do get charged the $59.99. But then you have access to all the video content, and then you can get the signed book too. I was told, I think there's 140 hours of like program content, and then additional like special features. I didn't even show the watch tab earlier, but there's like these documentary kind of mini series that I'll just show it exists. It's very highly produced footage. Like they've had kind of behind the scenes of MVL during Grand Chess Tour events. And yeah, the best thing to compare this site to is basically Netflix, but for chess. Yeah, when you sign up for the annual membership and then your purchase goes through, you'll receive an email to submit your shipping information for the book. This is something that's being promoted with my sponsorship, basically. So it's only using coupon code Rosen do you get this book offer. Oh, and KasparovChess is actually in the chat too, answering questions. So I doubt that's a real Garry, but maybe it could be. Shout out to Garry. And yeah, I didn't have a chance to show. They do broadcast all the Grand Chess Tour games as well in like a different interface that might be easier to actually see like the results here than elsewhere. So they have all the live leaderboard and scoring. Vishy Anand crushing it recently. And yes, the book is shipped worldwide. Got confirmation from KasparovChess. So even if you're not in the US, if you're located in Europe or probably also Asia, they are shipping worldwide. Are there good live lessons? I think KasparovChess has like an archive of all the live streams. Yeah, there's been a lot of the like coaches and GMs live streaming on the site, and they're all archived here. Oh yeah, there's also the podcast too. Podcast is free actually on Apple Podcasts. These days there's a lot of chess podcasts, but this kind of details Kasparov's early journey. Baby Kasparov. I will say, like, it's actually nice the fact that I get a free account thanks to the sponsored stream, but I'm probably gonna watch more KasparovChess on Netflix in the coming days and weeks because I forgot my Netflix password. And there's all this content about Garry talking about AI and like how to use machines optimally. Now, if you're watching in the future on YouTube, I'm going to condense this whole stream down into a more watchable version. We'll probably have some of the highlights of me doing the puzzles, doing the Maurice lesson, reacting to Garry and Anish and MVL. And for those watching in the future on YouTube, I'm going to timestamp everything in the video description. So you can hop around to various moments if you want to skip to like the Budapest part or the puzzle solving. YouTube will be hopefully a bit more digestible.